And I think that that's important for everybody to understand. I think that stage one, when you're starting out, whether you were a 5-year-old cellist or a 45-year-old solopreneur, new at it, right? Brand new life. Um, the first step is just to be consistent, do your work, hone your skills, get better and better and better, and just put it out there, even if nothing else is coming back to you. If you love it, if you want it to be a success, if you want it to gain momentum, you've got to put in the work. Neither of us were ever going to put out one brilliant podcast episode and have the world begging to be guests on our show. Right? Like we have to put out 100 really great episodes before people start to put two and two together. And so the first part is we have to do the work and be consistent. The second part is we can create a little bit of momentum for ourselves.
I'm Candice Rodarty. This is Gratitude Geek, the podcast for Gen X women solopreneurs weaving gratitude and appreciation into your business strategy. Welcome to another episode in our Momentum series, where we are chatting with female founders about what momentum really is and the lessons learned along the way. Today's guest is a retired musician, coach, speaker, author, and musical director of the Bermuda Philharmonic Orchestra. Welcome, Kate Kayaian.
Hi, Candice. So great to be here. Thanks for having me.
So, Kate, what would you like the audience to know about you?
I would like the audience to know that after what was a very successful career, in the middle of said successful career, I decided that I wanted to do something different at the age of 45, and I did. And that if they, as successful women in midlife, want to do something different, they can too.
Okay, so tell us that story.
So I was a cellist. I started the cello when I was 4.5 years old. We had some family friends. The daughter was my age. She was my best friend. She played violin and piano, and her older brother, Blake, played the cello. And so their mom said to my mom, oh, just bring Katie over to the house and Carla will play violin and piano and Blake will play the cello and Katie will just be naturally drawn to the sound of the instrument that she wants to play. What neither of them knew was that I was madly in love with Blake, and I understood as a 4.5-year-old that we could only get married if we played the same instrument. And that, honest to God, is why I played the cello. But luckily, I was pretty good at it, and I really loved it, which is good because they moved away like a couple years later. But yeah, I just had this whole career as a cellist. I had great teachers. I had great training. You're sort of put on this path, but I loved the path, right? It wasn't like, oh, she was forced into it. They made her do it. No, not at all. I loved it. I really loved it. And I, landed myself back in Boston to have the bulk of my career and was playing great concerts and traveling the world and doing all of these cool things, making, Grammy Award winning recordings left and right. It was awesome. But at some point around 2015, 2016, I started to feel like I wanted to do something more, something different, something that didn't have to do with playing the cello, but I didn't know what it was. And so people recommended that, I should get a manager, I should play bigger concerts and do more, and that would make me love it more. And so I tried doing that. Around that time, I met my now husband, and I moved from Boston to Bermuda because I just needed a place to practice and an airport, and they have both of those things here. And so I'm traveling around, and I started a blog, kind of got curious. I mean, again, I have no idea what it is. I have zero clarity around what it is I want to do instead. I just know that there's something else there for me. And I started taking some business courses, learning about marketing and various non-musical skills. And I just fell in love with it. And I talked to some close friends of I think I want to give up performing. I want to give up the cello. And they all said, you cannot. That is not allowed. Like in classical music, people don't even retire, right? I mean, they drop dead on the stage of a heart attack at the age of 102. I mean, that's just how it's done. And so it was completely unheard of, and they told me it was not allowed. But then COVID hit in 2020. And when COVID hit, everybody's concerts were canceled. Everybody was devastated. I was relieved. I was just given this sabbatical that I had been wanting for years, this chance to see. Everybody was telling me I would regret it, right? And when you're in that moment, you're like, gosh, I don't think I would regret this pivot, but if everybody else is telling me I will, like maybe I'm wrong. And I had this opportunity to figure it out. And I said, well, I've got 6 months. All of my concerts for the next 6 months have been canceled. I'll see how I feel. Then I saw this opportunity to create an online festival for cellists. I knew festivals were going to be canceled. And I was like, well, I know how to teach online. I've been doing it for years. I know how to run a program. I know how to build a website. I had all of these business and marketing skills that I had been collecting along the way, right? I knew sales. I had done some work in an admissions office at some point, and so I knew the admission software. And so I started this festival for the top high school and college-aged cellists. I had the faculty were the top cellists in the entire world, and it was a huge success. And nobody thought it would be, and it was. So that kind of gave me both a little bit of a confidence boost, certainly gave me a bit of income, and it also made people pay attention to me in a different way. And I people started asking me, colleagues started asking me to help them because remember, they didn't have any income. They didn't have any work. A lot of artists around the time, stage performers, actors, they're often in partnerships with other performers. And so it wasn't just one income that had disappeared. It was an entire household's income disappeared. And so they came to me and they asked me if I would coach them. And so I was like, yeah, sure. I can help you start a festival, help you start a program, whatever. And I was doing that. And I very quickly realized that I could tell them the various steps they needed to do to put this into place. But what they also needed was coaching, real, actual coaching. And so I took the time and I studied coaching, which just opened me up to something I never expected. I loved it so much. It felt like I had come home to myself. And so all of my years and decades of being on stage and performing and putting projects together, and all of my years of working with my students year after year after year and nurturing them not just as cellists, but as humans, it all made sense when I was like, yeah, it didn't have to be with the cello, but this is the work I was meant to do. So I've never looked back.
Two things that you said that I keep hearing over and over again from women on the show, but particularly over the last few weeks where we've been covering momentum and talking about momentum. Curiosity. I had curiosity, but I didn't have clarity.
Yeah.
The curiosity piece is what moves us forward.
Yeah. I often have people coming to me as potential clients and they say, I know I really want to work with you. I want to do this thing, but I don't really have a lot of clarity around it. So I need to wait until I have the clarity and then I want to start coaching with you. But can you save a spot for me in 3 months? And I laugh. I'm like, oh, okay. And I just ask them, well, what are you curious about? Or do you know what's one thing that you do know? Sometimes it's, I know I want to work from home. I don't want to work in an office anymore. Sometimes it's, I don't know what it is, but I want to write somehow. I don't know if I want to write novels or articles or go into journalism or a Substack. I just want to write. Okay. And you just need one little piece and we can go from there and you'll get it. Because I strongly believe that we don't get the answers from thinking about them.
Mm-mm.
Right?
No.
I think that's pretty much been proven at this point, that you have to start taking action. And that action leads to either, nope, that's not it, or yes, more of this, please. Right?
When I was first diagnosed with breast cancer, people kept telling me how much I inspire them. You're so inspirational, Candace. I'm so inspired by you. And I kept thinking, inspired to do what? What am I inspiring you to do? Right? I couldn't figure out what the inspiration that me going through cancer treatment was providing for them. And at that point, and this was, 12, 13 years ago, I finally said to myself, I want people to feel inspired to take action. If they
Yeah.
tell me that I inspire them, I want to know what the action is that I'm inspiring them to take. And that comes back to the curiosity piece. I really think
Mhm.
if we were more curious, if we didn't lose our curiosity as children, imagine how wonderful this world would be.
You touched on something about, when you were a kid, what you were curious about and what would that mean now? And that's a tool that I use all the time with my clients because I see it in myself. You mentioned in the introduction, I was a cellist. Now I am a speaker. I am a coach. I am an author. Yeah, I have my own podcast. I'm the president and music director of an orchestra. Like, I do a lot of things. But to me, it's all the same thing, right? Even my book, it's called Beyond Potential. And I am fascinated by helping people overcome things and discover, redefine, and reignite to reach their full potential. Whether that's a single client of mine, whether that is, the 30 million people who are about to buy my book, whether it is the orchestra that I'm working with, the musicians, the community. It's all about discovering what the potential is and moving towards that. And when I was a kid, my solo play, right? I mean, I was very typical Gen X, latchkey kid, very rare for my neighborhood in the suburbs of Chicago, but both of my parents worked. My mom was actually the main breadwinner in our family. And so I came home and it was an empty house. I let myself in, I made myself a snack, and from a very young age. So I remember a lot of my solo play, and a lot of it was like I would go into my closet and pretend that I was lost in the woods in a blizzard and I had to survive and find my way home. And so, what are the things that I would need to have with me? What are the things that I would need to do? And I mean, I'm talking, I was 6, 7 years old, or I was stranded on a raft in an ocean, boat sank, capsized, whatever. Here I am. And it was all about how do I survive and thrive and rise to the occasion to be the best version of myself,
Wow.
even as a young kid.
Curiosity.
Curiosity.
So this all leads to momentum. And I have heard a lot of different definitions for momentum, and I'm hearing, as you speak, I'm hearing different definitions of momentum that I've heard before. I'd really love to hear what yours is. What is your definition of momentum?
My definition of momentum, I mean, I think there's really only one definition of momentum, but how I've seen it manifest itself in my work, in my career, it was the same as, as a young cellist. I had to put in all of the practice hours, all of the work. I had to show up to the competitions, and I would win one, and then I would win another one. And then maybe somebody would call and say, "Hey, would you come and play this concert?" And then other people would say, "Hey, we need a cellist for this project. Somebody recommended you." Right? To the point where I didn't really have to seek out work as a cellist ever. I don't think I don't remember doing that at all. The calls came into me after a while, after I had done the years and years and years of doing my own work. And in my business, I see the same thing, right? Like, I had a blog post. It was like a lifestyle blog for classical musicians. I think it was read by 12 people. Um, right? So I'm writing, but consistent every single week, writing to 12 people, maybe if I was lucky. But that developed my writing skills, and my writing skills got better, and that turned into a podcast, and my speaking skills got better, and then my coaching skills get better. And, little by little, people start to pay attention, and somebody says, "Hey, this is really good work that she's putting out there." In fact, I just got a friend of mine sent me a WhatsApp message this morning, and she said, "Oh, a couple of her colleagues were, going through some stuff and talking about career stuff." And then she said she got this text from her coworker saying, "I was at my cooking club the other day and asked them if they had like a really good motivational speaker, the coach, author, any books that they would recommend for this stuff. And they recommended this one. It reminded me of the conversation we were having in the office the other day. You should check her out. She's great."
Wow.
And my friend was like, "That's my girl." Like, that's my Kate. I am 3 years into this podcast. I'm in, middle of my third season. So it's still relatively new, but I also have 125 episodes out, right? So those things still feel great. They
Mhm.
still feel great of like, okay, it's getting a wider reach now and it's coming back, right? The first time somebody joined my email list, so they subscribed to my email list and I didn't know them. That was a big moment. That was felt like momentum,
Yeah.
right? It felt like all of the content I've been putting out, it's not just all of my colleagues or friends of clients. It was reaching other people who I had never met. And it changes the way you talk to your audience a little bit.
A moment like that for me was when I went to a networking event and a woman looked at me from across the room, ran over and sat next to me and said, "I can't wait to listen to your podcast. I got your email this morning." And I'm like, it was something about that episode that she was excited to hear. My every Tuesday morning, an email goes out about my latest episode. If you're not subscribed, subscribe now. Link is in the show notes.
Yes. P.S.
you know, yes. So you work with a lot of people, and so you've seen some momentum stories. Is there something that just tells you, and we both just mentioned two moments that would define it. Is there just a way that you can tell that your business has reached momentum?
It's when something energy comes back to you that wasn't a direct result of energy that you put out, right? So if I send out a request to be to speak somewhere, if I call your company and say, "Hey, I'd like to give a talk to your employees," and they look at my stuff and they say, "Okay, yeah, that looks good." That's not momentum. That's I did the work, I had the stuff to back it up, and I got hired. I got the gig. When companies randomly start coming to me and saying, "Hey, we really like your content. We've heard about your work. Like, we'd love to bring you in to do a talk. Are you free in December?" That's momentum.
Mhm.
When stuff is coming in, when people are driving in from out of state to come to your little boutique. When people who aren't on the Philharmonic's mailing list buy a ticket and come to the concert because somebody recommended it to them. So yeah, I think that's what momentum is, and then it just starts to feed off of itself and build and build and build. You know, a lot of people talk about, the flywheel, classic business model, Jim Collins, the flywheel effect. And that is what we want. The flywheel is a bit of machinery that creates momentum. And so at some point, I think we start to feel like it's just generating itself.
I launched this show in 2014. Then I was diagnosed with breast cancer and I put it on the shelf. And then COVID came and I said, the thing that I miss doing is my podcast. So I rebooted my podcast and I discovered that it was still getting about 100 downloads a month, even though it had been 4 years since I'd released a new episode.
Ah,
And I was like, okay, 100 downloads a month. That's pretty good. And so I just rebooted it. Everything worked perfectly. Everything was still in place. The episodes started coming out. And in 2026, I finally won my first podcast award.
good for you.
you know, but it took 12 years and a lot of momentum and a lot of work. You don't just show up unless you are a celebrity who already has name recognition. You
Mhm.
cannot just launch a podcast and suddenly be the best podcast ever.
No.
There is so much work behind it. And for me, my medium is podcasting.
Mhm.
Kate's medium is coaching, writing, but my medium is this podcast is my medium. This is what I do. Sometimes it takes a long time to feel that momentum. My favorite story to share is the plumber who told me that it took him 30 years to become an overnight success.
Yeah.
That's 30 years of working really, really hard,
Yeah.
you
And I
know?
think that that's important for everybody to understand. I think that stage one, when you're starting out, whether you were a 5-year-old cellist or a 45-year-old solopreneur, new at it, right? Brand new life. Um, the first step is just to be consistent, do your work, hone your skills, get better and better and better, and just put it out there, even if nothing else is coming back to you. If you love it, If you want it to be a success, if you want it to gain momentum, you've got to put in the work, right? Neither of us were ever going to put out one brilliant podcast episode and have the world begging to be guests on our show, right? Like we have to put out 100 really great episodes before people start to put two and two together.
Mm.
And so the first part is we have to do the work and be consistent. The second part is we can create a little bit of momentum for ourselves. I did this when I was first starting to do more solo recitals. I would call up all of these concert series. Someone in Savannah, Georgia has a little recital series, and I would call them up and I would introduce myself and I would send them some recordings of my playing. I said, I'm going to be in town. I'd love to do a recital. I'd love to be part of your series. And sometimes they'd say yes. Sometimes they'd say like, oh, we're full this season, maybe next season. Whatever the response was didn't really matter. But I found that if I made enough of those calls and sent enough of those emails, they talk to each other. And so somebody's like, hey, have you heard of this cellist, Kate Kayaian? And they're like, yeah, somebody else was just talking about her, right? And it might have been that they were talking about me because they were just saying, oh, I got an email from this woman. But all they remember is the name. And they remember that they heard the name. And they're like, oh, right. Okay, so I guess this is a name I need to pay attention to.
Mm-hmm.
Only because I sent out all of the emails and the phone calls, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it got me in the door. And I think that we can do a similar thing. You can create that visibility for yourself through ads, through just getting out there, getting on podcasts, writing articles on Substack or LinkedIn, whatever it is, social media. You can create the sense of, I call it the everything everywhere all at once. And I have my clients do this before they're about to launch a big project. And then people are like, oh, yeah, I heard that name. Oh, yeah, I heard that thing, right? And it starts to generate a little bit of momentum. Now, you've got to have the goods to back it up, of course, but you can generate it. If you keep going, I think it takes always. I've never heard anybody say, gosh, yeah, the momentum just started building really fast, right? It takes a really long time.
Yeah.
It takes for the organic momentum to start building. So I think if people just think about those 3 stages of like the stage where you just show up and do the work no matter what, and then the stage where you feel good enough about your work and you start making more of an effort to make it visible. You do the everything everywhere all at once, get yourself out there, get your name out there, put as much energy out as you can. And then some of that will come back immediately, like directly, and you'll always find it comes out somewhere else, right? Like if I put out a proposal to speak somewhere and I don't hear back from those people that week, but all of a sudden I get a request to, to do facilitate a workshop somewhere else. I'm like, oh, okay. You start to see that energy coming back. And then you get to the point, the third stage is where you don't have to do as much outbound work. It's just the inbound coming towards you. And that's when you realize that the momentum is really, it's like your plumber probably doesn't have to advertise that much anymore, right? He's always busy.
So that is a surprising part of being in momentum, is that the things that happen come from places that that are unexpected. Is there anything else surprising about the process of being in momentum?
You will start to learn what your biggest strengths are from what people are asking you to do.
Ooh, that's a good call out.
Right. And so, as an example, as a cellist, I would get a lot of requests to play contemporary music, sort of the new stuff that was very difficult, very challenging. There's never enough rehearsal time for it. And I would get called to do a lot of these projects. And the tricky thing about this, so this is surprising. So you learn like, okay, apparently I'm good at that. Okay. Then you have to decide whether you like it or not. Because it's very easy to say like, oh, in an example now, if I kept getting calls to give talks about what it's like to be a nonprofit president, like, okay, I'm happy to talk about that, but I don't want my whole career to be based on that. That's sort of my volunteer work, right? It's like I love it, I'm passionate about it, but that's not what my career is about. So I'm happy to have conversations with people if they have questions. but I'd rather not take time out of my calendar to do a whole bunch of speaking engagements about it. Now I can pay attention to, like, well, what is it about that work that I'm doing that people are attracted to, and maybe I can make it work. But yeah, I think that's always a surprising thing is that people will tell you what your biggest strengths are or what need you are filling, what gap you're solving.
What if someone has an idea that this is what they want to do, but people keep asking them to do something else, and that's really not what they want to do, but that's what they keep getting asked to do?
Mhm.
Should they pivot, or should they try to stay in the lane that they want to be in? Or
Uh, I think that can be a really confusing place to be, and I think, to give that the most annoying answer ever, it depends. But I think it's an opportunity, no matter what, I think it's an opportunity to ask deeper questions of what is it about what you wanna talk about that you love the most, right?
Mhm.
And then what is it about the thing that they're asking you to do that they are wanting? And is there any common ground there? Because maybe you were just titling your product wrong. Maybe they were just asking you because that was the only thing that you've been visible about. It's the only content they could find online was about this thing that you're doing. My book came out in March of 2025, and I had my podcast coming out every week. And so for a while, I was just posting a lot about the book tour, and then my podcast episodes that were coming out, and like I wasn't, I actually had a full coaching roster, but I wasn't getting as many inquiries as I usually did. And finally, somebody called or they DM'd me and they just said, "Are you still coaching?" I said, "Yes, of course." And they're like, "Oh, yeah, I just haven't seen anything online about your coaching and your clients. Like you haven't talked about it. So I wasn't sure if you gave it up."
Mm,
Right?
interesting.
Interesting.
Visibility.
Right. But sometimes we aren't aware of what we're putting out there. So I would double check that. Have you been visible enough about the thing that you want to do? And is there common ground between what you want to do and what people are asking you to do?
We should always be experimenting. We should always be curious. Curiosity leads to clarity. I think that's my favorite takeaway from this episode is the curiosity leads to clarity. How did momentum change your business? And did you end up where you thought you were going?
I don't think I am there yet.
Really?
I think I'm still very much in the middle of my flywheel building. So I am experiencing some momentum for sure, but I feel like there's still so much more for me to do. First of all, I feel like I'm still learning a lot. I'm still growing my coaching skills. I mean, I think that that's something that, you know, coaches who love coaching are always building their coaching skills because it's such a wonderful medium to help people. Um, I'm still putting more and more out there as a podcast host, as a writer, and yeah, I don't think I'm there yet. I think I'm exactly where I'm meant to be right now.
I think that's part of the being a momentum, though. You don't think you're there yet. Well, momentum doesn't have an end.
Correct.
You just keep going. So that was actually the right answer.
I mean, I sort of feel like, with the flywheel, like if you're talking about the mechanical flywheel, it will reach a speed that it won't go any faster. It's just continually moving. And so you don't have to put in as much effort because it's just creating its own momentum.
You can take your foot off the gas and just keep going.
Correct. And so to answer your question, I think that my flywheel is still building speed. It's not functioning at its top speed yet. But
Interesting.
I'm enjoying, I mean, but that's kind of the fun of it. I almost hope that that's not true in business the way it is in mechanics, because I think that that would get really boring. I mean, I don't know if how many of people in your audience are familiar with the cellist Yo-Yo Ma.
If you're not, what rock are you living under? No.
Kind of. I mean, we're all Gen X. Like he was even, a joke on Seinfeld. So I think people know. But Yo-Yo Ma, he's done it all. He has played every cello concerto a gazillion times with every orchestra. He's the nicest human being ever to walk the planet, by the way. So generous and so wonderful. Um, but I do think that he has gotten bored. Like, he did a bluegrass album, he did a jazz, he did samba, he's done all of these different kinds of music
He
just
also did a
because.
tour where he would just show up in a national park and start playing,
Yeah. Mhm.
which was fantastic. I mean,
All sorts
yeah.
of things. So, like, the creativity of but he could have, you know, he makes plenty of money just with every major orchestra around the world wanting him to come and play a concerto in their
Mhm.
season. He would never run out of concerts to play, he would never run out of concertos to play. He could have just coasted, like, that flywheel could not have been spinning any faster, and he could have just coasted on that for the rest of his career, but he felt he wanted to change things up, do things differently, and I feel the same way. Like, I think that I would get really bored if I just always had a full client roster. As fascinating as every new client is to me, I think that, after a while, just doing the same thing over and over and over again would get a little bit dull.
Yeah.
And so I hope that my flywheel never reaches top speed. I hope that there's always something new for me to do.
Oh, that's the curiosity piece. You've got to stay curious.
Yeah.
Okay, tell us about your book.
My book, Beyond Potential, a guide for creatives who want to reassess, redefine, and reignite their careers. Begins with the asking the question, if you were to come across the version of you that did all of the things that you've always wanted to do but haven't, how would you feel? And what would you do next? And I heard that on some podcast wafting through my room that I wasn't even paying attention to, and it stopped me in my tracks. And that was when I realized that not only was that version of me not a cellist, they were not a cellist, but they had actually, run a race. They had actually fixed their crooked tooth, like big things, little things, like things that I'm like, well, if my ideal version of myself is a runner, why am I not running? Like, if my ideal version of myself fixed my crooked tooth, why do I not have Invisalign yet? Right? Like, little things. Um, and so the book really, in its career things and life things, but the idea is make your list, sit down, take a breath, reassess those old stories of why you can't run, of why you have to be a cellist even though you don't want to be, of why you haven't bothered to fix your tooth. Little stories, big stories, reassess them. Then redefine who you want to be moving forward. And then the third part of the book is exercises to really help you, like, take charge, get in the driver's seat, and go start moving towards those things that you really want. And so this book has been so helpful to so many people, from the person who just graduated from university and has a degree in something that they really don't want to do. They have the courage and the tools to pivot responsibly, to my friend Jennifer, who is a retired English teacher who is feeling lost. Like, what do I do now? And she's taking art classes and she's got a puppy and, like, she's living her best life. Right. So I think it's really helpful for people in all stages of life. I wrote it for the person who is mid career, for essentially the Gen X person who has sort of built this life and is now thinking, like, okay, what do I do with the remaining years I have? None of us know how many years we have left. So this is a book that will help you stop wasting them and start living the life that you want to live.
I think it's really hilarious. No, it's kismet. It's very kismet that we are having this conversation the week after I talked to Andrea Waltz, who is the author of Go for No. Because the book Go for No is about a dude who wakes up 10 years in the future and meets his future self.
Oh,
And all of the
haven't read it.
mistakes that he made that got him to where he is, and then how he can pivot to become the man that he just met.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah, so it's like, read that book and then read this book. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, yeah.
Because and
What not to do and what to do.
exactly, exactly. Now that you're an author and you're this multi-hyphenate person,
Mhm.
are you feeling the pressure to write another book, or what are you feeling?
I'm still having a blast talking about this book. So I've got a couple of keynotes that I'm doing that I love and I find helpful. I do have, people warned me about this, that the publishing process is a long one. That by the time your book is published, you have already been thinking about the next book. You haven't been writing the first book for a year plus. It's in the past. It's
Yeah.
done, right? And so, yeah, I am working on a next book. I don't feel pressure to do it, but I'm excited to. I mean, I think people the funny thing about Beyond Potential is that it's a book full of exercises. It's a little bit like The Artist's Way in that way, that there's thoughtful exercises and prompts and questions. So this is not a book that you get and you read it in a weekend and you're done and you're inspired and you go. I mean, you can read through it in a weekend. You probably won't have done any of the exercises, right? So to really work through Beyond Potential, you want to give yourself some months to do it. And so people are getting to that point, and then, because nobody's going to recommend a book before they've gone through it, right? So
Yeah.
it just takes a little bit longer for them to go through it, and then they tell everybody they know to go get it, thankfully. I'm grateful for that, speaking of gratitude. Um, but yeah, no, I'm so grateful for what I get to do, how, when I wake up and get to have the kind of day that I get to have of spending some time writing, spending some time with amazing content creators like you, having these great conversations, working with clients, working with my orchestra. Like, I live in Bermuda. I have a cute
I'm
dog.
so
I
sorry
mean,
you have to live on a tropical island. Oh my
I
god.
know. The night that I met my now husband, we were in this tiny little town in Connecticut, and he said he lived in Bermuda. And I was like, great. You want to get married? Like, sounds good to me.
Sounds good to me. I love it. Oh my goodness gracious. In my community, we also do a book club.
Mhm,
And the book that we just discussed last week was The Five Types of Wealth by Sahil Bloom.
love it. It's
Not a
great.
single one of us finished the book
Really?
because and all of us took away different parts of it.
Mhm.
The reason why we couldn't finish reading it was because we had already gotten what we needed from the book. We didn't
Yes.
need to
Yeah, I
finish
can see
it.
that. Mhm.
So we've all agreed to come back in January and have finished reading it to see to see where 6 months takes us, right? Or 5 months, where it takes us. Are we gonna have a different, perspective on the book? I have a feeling that your book is like this one, where you might not be able to read the whole thing in one sitting, but when you come back to it the next time, you're gonna take something else away.
Mhm. Yes, and I think that you'll know when you read the book, if you are intrigued by it, Guide for Creatives Who Want to Reassess, Redefine, and Reignite Their Careers. If you're intrigued by this title, you are in one of a few different places in your life, right? And if you're at a place where you're at a crisis point and you're like, I hate my job and my entire career, and I think I want to change industries, or I feel like I need to do something really big, I need to make some big changes in my life, then yeah, you're gonna be called, you're gonna be drawn to doing those exercises and answering the prompts. And you should take your time and really give yourself the gift of taking yourself and these questions seriously. If you're like, yeah, there are some projects that I'd love to do and I just can't seem to get myself motivated to do them, and I don't know why I keep putting them off, then you could absolutely read this in a weekend and you'll get some really great tools, some interesting tidbits from the first two sections that'll get you thinking about things in a different way. And then the tools in the third section are just things that you can implement right away. And so I think the book can be used in a variety of ways.
So don't be afraid to pick it back up if you've put it down.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
All right, I wanna talk about the difference between a creative, which is what you are, and a creator, which is what I am.
Hmm.
What are your definitions?
Well, I think that everybody is creative in their own way. I think everybody has creativity within them, and the ability to be creative. I think a creator is somebody who has taken their creativity and made something out of it, right?
That's
So
a
a reader is someone who reads books. An author is a creator. They have taken fresh ideas from their brain and they've put the words down on paper and created a book out of it, right? So, two people could be going for a walk and have this idea of a story, and one person might say, "Oh, that's an interesting story," and just go about their way. Their brains were creative and they thought of a story. The creator takes that story and they make something of it. They write an article, they write a book, they paint a painting, they do something. So I think a creator is somebody who makes something out of their creativity.
So you are a creator.
I'm a creator in that I'm an author and I write keynotes. I'm a podcaster. Yeah. And I would argue that as a cellist, being a cellist is less creative than you would think.
Hmm.
It uses less creativity because you're playing music that somebody else has created and you're just recreating it. You're not
Yeah,
supposed to change it in any way. Like your thoughts and opinions don't really matter much.
you're interpreting. You're not really even interpreting. You're literally playing the notes on the paper.
There is interpretation, but that's considered more musicality. Like, I interpret that this phrase should be this long, that it should go to this note, but you're not changing the note, you're not changing the rhythm. So interpretation is very important. And maybe that's the creative process because you're thinking through different options, different ways, but the parameters are very narrow, right? It's not like you can, one person plays this piece and it's 5 minutes long and somebody else plays the piece and it's 12 minutes long. It's like maybe it's 5 minutes long and somebody plays it slightly slower and it's 5 minutes and 30 seconds, right? Like
Yeah.
there's not a huge variety. So I would think that the creators are exhibiting more creativity.
So really, there is no difference.
No.
A creator is a creative. Because when I think about creatives, I think about artists, musicians, actors, digital, even if it's digital. But you're right, they are all creating something.
Yeah. Anybody who creates something that didn't exist before.
So yeah, they might be interchangeable. Or
Well,
or
I think it's like creators are creatives, but not all creatives
are
make stuff.
creators.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Thank you for that because I really I'm having a lot of trouble. I created this creator collab mixer
Mhm.
because I wanted people who create to come together and create more.
Mhm.
And but I was really struggling with how to phrase it, how to explain it. I was trying to narrow it down or to be very specific about who's welcome. And it's basically, well, you're welcome if you create.
Mhm.
So, okay. Thank you for that. Thank you for that clarity.
Sure. But also people who are creative who say like, I don't know, I just feel like I want to express my creativity, but like I'm not making anything right now. So they really identify as a creative, but they might not identify as a creator until they've spent time in that room with you.
So, how do you weave gratitude into your business strategy?
Every day. Every day. Every day that something that I want more of comes my way, I just say, "Thank you, more of this, please." That could be a parking spot right in front of the like, where I need to go. "Thank you, more of this, please." A great client reaches out, wants to have a call with me. I mean, a prospective client. Yes. More of that type of person, please. They're awesome, right?
I
Um,
love that gratitude practice. That's
yeah,
actually I would categorize as an appreciation practice because
yeah.
appreciation also means growth. And you are being grateful and appreciating the opportunity that just came to you and
Mhm.
asking for more just like it.
Yeah. I'm reminding myself too. Like some people say like, "Oh, you're telling God that you want him to send you more. You are asking the universe, you're putting that out there. It's manifestation." I think there are a lot of different names for it. For me, it's a reminding myself, this is the kind of person that I want to be attracting. And that reminds me to do the work to use the language that attracts that kind of person, right? More speaking gigs. I'm so happy that I got this opportunity to give this keynote at this great organization that I believe so strongly in their mission. Okay, I want more of that. So network with those types of people, get in rooms with those types of people, right? So it's part just showing gratitude and appreciation, and part a reminder to do the work that leads to more of that.
So, Kate Kayaian, this is your moment of gratitude. For whom or what are you most grateful?
Myself. Am I allowed to say that?
You are.
Myself, because I took all of the crap that was thrown my way in my life and made something good of it. Because I have, at the tender age of 51, learned that I can really trust my gut, and it has never led me astray. And I am somebody who has I've always zigged when other people told me to zag, and I really, really love my life so much. I need to, knock on wood when I say that, but I feel like I got myself here.
Thanks for tuning in to Gratitude Geek, the podcast for Gen X women solopreneurs, weaving gratitude and appreciation into your business strategy. Our theme music is by Rev Brock and Solely. This has been episode 338, and I've been your host, Candice Rodardi. Stay groovy, my friends.
Stay groovy, my friends.